I am in the middle of doing a million jobs, but I keep getting a comment on my latest video that's going kind of viral that needs to be addressed. I didn't put the mesh in backwards in my high banker. I don't know if you guys just can't see what I'm seeing, but I'm going to explain it. When you use any kind of sluice box, you are trying to create high friction areas. Yes, high friction. Everyone's going to say, no, Chris, you're meant to be creating low pressure. Pressure doesn't exist in a water system like this. It's not under pressure. Nothing can be under pressure. It's not an enclosed vessel and you can't compress water. You can compress things like air, which is why if you send a submarine down really deep connected to like a Nintendo controller, the air will compress and you'll turn into liquid. We use a variety of stuff, but mesh is one of the things we most commonly use in sluice boxes. This is a double layer of mesh that I use in a tiny little 5-inch high banker for sample runs and running ore pits. It is double layered, meaning there are two sheets that I have cable tied together. The reason I do that is to make this profile slightly more aggressive, given that it is a very thin piece of mesh for a very small sluice box. As you can see here, we create a higher wall. As the gravel comes down the sluice box in this direction, it has to go first up over the top of this lip, and then it falls down here. This is where traditionally people will say, oh, there's no pressure in there. There's no low pressure, it's high friction, because the water has to come up and then it has to drop. It actually creates what's called supercritical flow. Supercritical flow happens anywhere that you get a large volume of water that drops down a fast front and then levels out across something that is shallower than the water above it. That's a really complicated way of saying if you just look at literally any weir in any creek ever that has that angular concrete bank and you see fast water coming down the front of it and then you see a little wave at the bottom, that's called hydraulic jump, and that happens immediately after supercritical flow. So when we put mesh in a high banker, we must always put the mesh facing this direction. So the water flow comes up over the top of the highest point of your mesh and drops down into the cup. What this does is causes agitation within the soil that collects in here. The soil collects in there because there is a high level of friction within the water. The water can't move very fast because it's encapsulated by metal. But it's still moving because that supercritical flow is dropping water down in on top of it. That causes the dirt to oscillate, it spreads apart your black sands and allows your gold to sink into it. If we turn the mesh the other way and we run the water this way, we have little cups here. It doesn't do the same thing. There's nowhere for the dirt to hide in here because the supercritical flow drops harder on this side. And as the flow comes in, that supercritical flow lifts the dirt out of the pocket and pushes it into the next one. It also causes compaction. Now, I don't know why everyone keeps saying I've got my mesh in backwards in the video that's going viral. Here's a photo of it. It's the same direction as I just explained, and there's no way I would have caught more gold because, believe it or not, I've been doing this for a decade and I know what I'm doing. Mesh must face downflow, downflow. My mesh definitely must be in backwards. It must be.